The discussion will be lost in uncompetitive regulations, how Europe can find its way to the top of global tech and trade rivalry. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Andrzej. Nice for being here. Thanks to the audience. After all that really boring stuff about defense, we're now going to talk about the really exciting stuff, which is economic competitiveness. I'm being very serious. Andrzej, there's been a lot of conversations in the last year that have accelerated in the last few months about competitiveness, but mainly about regulation and about how do we make sure that we're not over-regulating Europe, how do we make sure that people are growing the economy. In your head, do you know where the line sits between regulation and freedom, and how does that affect EU competitiveness?
First of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm really glad that I can be here with you today. And of course, freedom is the core European value, and we need to definitely protect it, with no doubt. We need to, if we want to take seriously the need for change for European economy, we need to get rid of some regulation. Actually, in Brussels, they call it simplification. Here in Warsaw, we call it deregulation.
Yeah, Brussels isn't happy when you call it deregulation.
I know, but we are in Warsaw. And definitely, I truly believe that there is plenty of room for getting rid of some unwise regulation in Europe until we reach the point where we touch freedom. And this is why we do welcome the European Commission proposal of Omnibus. Yeah. We do hope that there will be more of that, as definitely in Europe we forgot how important GDP growth is. Yeah. And if you want to finance your defense spending, like we do in Poland, you need growth. Yeah. You need growth to have taxes, to be able to buy tanks, jets, you name it, we buy it.
One of the big areas where they're cutting back on regulation is, of course, fiscal rules. You now have Berlin saying that there should be less strict fiscal rules, which is pretty insane, given that they were the ones that created the fiscal rules in the first place. Do you think the fiscal rules are even fit for purpose anymore? And how do you make sure that doesn't create this race to the bottom on state aid, which a country like Poland can't compete with Germany, France, Spain, because they don't have the fiscal firepower?
Fiscal rules are crucial. And I do believe that right now they are well designed. I mean, there is enough of the flexibility of the fiscal rules in Europe now that will enable, for example, countries like Poland, but not only Poland, to increase our defense spending. Sorry, I'm repeating to this defense and security, but as I understand, that's important for us here. Clearly, it's really encouraging that so many European countries decided to apply for this national escape clause, which is the proof not only that there is enough of the flexibility within European fiscal rules, but also that countries are taking security seriously.
But there are three countries that don't, well, France just meets 2%, Italy and Spain don't. Those three haven't activated it. Why do you think that is? And as someone who's been calling for more defense spending, are you worried that that creates a bad signal?
First of all, let's look at the positives. We see many, as I said, 16 countries so far applied for national escape clause. Countries like Germany, Denmark, which wasn't that obvious, but those countries did. Probably I guess that more countries could apply for this national escape clause in coming weeks. We need to remember that each Minister of Finance has to borrow. We have markets, we have yields on our bonds, and there are countries with high debt to GDP ratio, like France, like Italy, and of course that they are really sometimes a little bit skeptical or a little bit need to be cautious because the market reaction for their moves could be really harmful. Of course, Poland is in a very good position in this terms, as we have debt to GDP ratio below 60% threshold. But also, the Polish Minister of Finance is also looking at the cost of debt.
How could you quantify the impact that Donald Trump's first 100 days have had on the ECOFIN, on your fellow EU finance ministers? Do you notice a change around the table, or is it still people in their same trenches?
Well, I believe that in recent weeks or months, we've noticed kind of European awakening in terms of, for example, taking our security more seriously. And for sure, it was possible because of the changing geopolitical reality. I believe that after Munich conference, it's clear for everyone that we need in Europe take more responsibility for our security, that we need to pay more, spend more on our defense, and things that Poland was fighting for many, many months and were difficult to be achieved. Actually, it was way easier to achieve them after Munich conference. So probably something similar could happen now with European economy. Yes, we see that this tension in the transatlantic trade relation. So it's clear for me that we need to focus on Europe, focus on bringing back competitiveness to our European Union, and I see that step by step, month by month, European Commission is doing a better job.
How do you? I'm sure they much appreciate that. There's been a lot of talk, as obviously there's hundreds of billions of euros new defense spending coming online across the 27 member states. How do you, as a finance minister, how do you make sure that that is helping the real economy as well, and not just big defense corporations who've been earning money anyway, or worse still, just going overseas? Can you talk about ways in which Poland is making sure that money stays here and helps everyone?
Okay, so maybe first about numbers. As a Minister of Finance, it's important for me. So 150 billion euro of safe loans backed by EU budget is of course very important step into a good direction. But okay, it's 600 billion Polish zloty, and we spend in Poland 200 billion Polish zloty a year. So it's important step of European Commission, and we do welcome that. Having said that, it's not enough. We believe that this additional flexibility within fiscal rules is also important, but I think that there will be a need for looking for more funds. But it's maybe even more important how we spend, not how much we spend. And I do believe that there is plenty of room for improvement here by joint procurement, by spending our money of our taxpayers actually wiser. And we estimate that we can save up to 40 billion euro thanks to joint procurement. And there is need for better coordination of our procurement. We know it's not always easy because, of course, different countries have different priorities. But I truly believe that's crucial. Efficiency is a key here, and then, of course, we want those money to accelerate European economy. We want strong European defense industry. I know that here we have friends from US, from companies that we do cooperate, and we plan to further cooperate. But definitely we need to spend in Europe. We need to create strong European and of course Polish defense industry. I believe that this rearm proposal is a step into this direction. Yesterday we kick off the deep tech fund here in Poland. It's 300 million zloty, but it's just the beginning that we will try to be allocated to the most promising dual-use companies. We want the private sector also to be involved, because with the amount of money that we need to spend in Europe on defense, definitely involvement of the private sector will be crucial.
But I mean, this is all well and good, and I completely agree with everything you've just said, but for decades, the defense industries of EU countries haven't cooperated with each other that much. They haven't done joint procurement because they wanted to look after their own domestic players, because it's a very core competence, right, to be able to build your own tanks or whatever. How do you change that mindset? I mean, it can't just be a wave of money, because then the same people who were making money in the past will be making it again.
Step by step. I mean, of course, changing mentality is the most difficult. But I truly believe that if there will be some economic pressure, then we will manage to convince our friends, other countries, to buy together, to buy more efficiently, and to create a strong defense industry here in Europe, of course, preferably in Poland.
When you say economic pressure, you mean incentives, essentially, right? Not always fiscal, but some form of incentive, that these companies would make more money if they procured together. Is that right?
Well, if you buy more in quantity, you get a better price.
We do, but the manufacturers don't.
I mean, that's natural supply-demand fight.
Can you...
But let me just
Sure.
put it straight. Yes, we spend 4.7% of our GDP, still the highest within all NATO members. Out of those, we spend the highest share really on buying new equipment or modernizing existing one. It's above 30%, 50%, with the median for NATO countries at 32, I believe. So we are doing already a lot. And for me, it's always the most important, of course, to finance the strong Polish defense industry. It's not always easy, but our government is really trying to do so.
You mentioned deep tech. There's been a lot of conversations in Europe recently about the role of tech companies, and of course they're part of the defense industry too. How do you see that kind of tech collaboration between EU countries? Is that working as well as it should be, or how do we incentivize that as well?
Well, I'm just a humble Minister of Finance. I'm
just a humble reporter.
For fixing cooperation between all companies, but I would like to encourage them to do so. As I said, after recent rising geopolitical tension, it's clear that we need to cooperate closer. And the recent move from the European Commission, this rearm package, is with no doubt a step into the good direction. But of course, we have appetite for more. This is why we here in Warsaw, we were discussing a couple of weeks ago with other ministers of finance during ECOFIN meeting, also other possibilities like a special fund or rearmament bank. I mean, whatever is needed to improve our security. Here in Poland, we take this issue very, very seriously.
I mean, the FT is a big fan of both the rearmament bank and the fund. Can you talk a little bit more about how they're advancing and any potential landing zones?
First of all, of course, we are presidency right now of the European in the European Council. So for us, the top priority is to go with European Commission proposal. So this is why we focus on the SAFE right now. I do hope that this package will be finalized already in May. Yeah, I think we are very, very, very close. But then, of course, we are open for other options. If not all member states are willing to participate, then the coalition of the willing is also a solution. We have procured a report from the Bruegel think tank, and there's a nice chart there. You can find it online on one axis you have the spending to defense spending as a share of GDP, and then on the other you have the distance from Moscow. And of course it's linear, yes? So it's clear that countries like Poland, Baltics, Finland, that we have tendency to, that we want to spend more. So and countries that are further away from Moscow, they could have other priorities. Having said that, you just cannot stop countries that would like to spend more from creating additional tools.
That's encouraging. When we talked about transatlantic tensions, obviously as a finance minister, does it worry you that it's very hard to fix competitiveness, spend more on defense, and fight a trade war at the same time? I mean, how do we manage all three?
You know, I'm the Minister of Finance, so I worry all the time. but also I try to be as optimistic as possible. I believe that European Commission is doing really good job with bringing back competitiveness, with this omnibus package, with another one that I hope will be presented, and then on trade. I mean, there is this ongoing discussion. I hope that we will find a solution with our US partner. We know that tariffs are bad for economy, bad for companies, bad for clients, and I do hope that we'll manage to secure a fair deal for Europe.
And just finally, and the clock is ticking down, people have talked more and more about the positivity of movement on the CMU, or now it's called the Savings and Investment Union. Do you see a way to make defense the kind of core argument for that? That actually there's ways to create defense union as well and spending better if you have a much more robust European capital markets union? Is that idea starting to kind of percolate, or are the same people still objecting to it on the same reasons?
Savings and Investment Union is absolutely needed to improve competitiveness of Europe. Whether we are willing to wait until it's finally agreed, we are not. I mean, it's this discussion about Savings and Investment Union, or as it was called once, Capital and Market Union. This discussion is 30 years old. Yeah. And we need to act now. We need to act now in terms of our security. We are really happy that that member states are taking their security seriously now. We know that the peace dividend is over, and so to reply to your question, we need to act now and not to wait for Savings and Investment Union to be finalized.
Minister, thank you so much. The big clock is telling us we're done. Thank you for your time, and good luck with all the meetings. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you very much for this very interesting conversation. Ladies and gentlemen.